So, sorry, I gotta pull down my shorts. Really up my shit right now. Okay, so color me livid because I'm at the weirdest angle in the world, and I had filmed this like entire video, and my phone died. So no video. Just gonna be as genuine as possible because I have some shit I want to talk about, and I am poor. So yeah, I lost my stabilizer when I was moving. So I am propping you guys up on a couch right now. So la-di-da. Anyways, Sammy, my dog's trying to get out of the door. Samuel. Hi. Oh, alrighty then. Hi, Samuels. Samuels would like to be a part of this, maybe, until he wants to run away and go chase whatever random ass animals outside. Oh, and that time is now. Just don't knock over the phone, bro. Alright, yeah, we'll just put your butt in the camera, you know, it's fine. Do what you want, live your best life. Anyways, don't lick my babe juice. So my discussion was actually about what I had been up to the past couple months, and how things have been going, and basically I think the last thing I talked about, other than I had like a dog video that I posted, just being weird with the animals, but my first real video I posted, I was gonna make this like a mental health channel. And then just like most other things, like my music and my art and all other things that I think are important and cool, I kind of give up on them after a short period of time, and my mind goes to some other task. Living life is really hard for me. I can't really focus on a lot of things, so I get really distracted. I like set a goal and then I forget about the goal, and then my goal is something else, and it's like I'm like that kid that wanted to be like a writer and a singer and an astronaut and an artist and a teacher and a biologist. So my shit is like constantly changing. So yeah, but I do really want to make this a goal, make this a thing, because what I talk about I feel like is really important, and not a lot of, I wouldn't say not a lot of people are talking about it, but not enough. Not enough. I do not feel like the YouTube community could be too saturated in talking about mental illness, because the fuck was that? Anyway, it's just not talked about enough. So anyways, I think one of my videos was mostly about like online bullying and wanting to give up, and I was having like suicidal thoughts and stuff at the time. So that was really therapeutic for me. It really helped. I was like inside going crazy in my brain, just about to like, you know, I'm not trying to be triggering, but like I was about to like let loose on myself, and I was like, I have to do something healthy to get all these emotions out. And I was like home alone, so I was like, I'm just gonna sit in front of the camera and I'm gonna fucking talk, and if people watch it and they watch it, if they don't watch it, then like fuck it, it helped me. So here I am making my second video, and I kind of just want to tell you guys why I took such a long time off. Like I made my first video and then I didn't post anything else for a very long time, and this is kind of going to go over why. So during that time, I had just left a big relationship for me, and I have actually gotten back together with my boyfriend. We are both very different now. We spent a year apart figuring things out. We both had a kind of toxic relationship in the past, which, like, you know, I'm in no way saying like go back to your toxic ex, because he was toxic and I was toxic for him, and we were bad for each other. So we split up and we spent over a year apart, and during that time we like learned a lot about ourselves and how we were treating each other and how we were both contributing to, you know, the situation. And we came back and we're totally different people now. So like I said, it can't be expected that will happen to everyone. Some people take years and years and years to develop into the people that they're supposed to be and change their negative habits and yada yada. But for me, it was a little bit easier to change my habits because I took such a downward spiral when we broke up. I started drinking a lot, and I started going out a lot, dating a lot, and just I was really trying to put myself out there and just forget about it, I guess, because I was hurting so bad over it, and everyone around me, I guess I didn't have the right group of people, because everyone was telling me, like, just forget about him. You're sad, so let's go out and let's get fucking trashed, and you'll feel better. And it did make me feel better for like the first couple times. So then I was like, I can just keep this going. I can just stay drunk. So I think I stayed drunk for about 6 months. I mean, like, I really don't remember a lot, and I really hurt my brain in doing that. And I know that's a weird thing to say, because like people have drug addictions and alcohol addictions all the time, and they just are like, I'm sober now and I'm better. But like, no, it really took getting sober and getting off the heavy drinking and stuff was really hard for me, because like I had to cut out a bunch of people out of my life. I had to stop going to parties. I just had to like kind of stop everything and like isolate myself inside my house. And I started doing a lot of like meditation and yoga and things like that, and I just stopped leaving my house. I mean, it was to the point where like I didn't go to my family's Christmas or anything. I kind of went from like, it was just two exact opposites. It was like, I'm sad and overwhelmed and stressed and heartbroken. So to deal with that, I was like drinking, partying, going out every night, meeting all these people. And then when I realized how that was making my life, and it was kind of turning me into someone that I didn't really like, I did this complete opposite shift, which was like, stay inside your house, talk to no one, don't leave your house, sleep all day, stop eating, stop drinking water, and lay here and die, and like process how bad shit is. So I did that. I wouldn't say that helped either. I mean, like, neither of those things were really productive. Like, one of them was really detrimental, and then the other one was like just giving up. Then I kind of started getting back out there, like just going back out into the world and doing things like walking and art and stuff like that, and that started to help. And then at this point, it had been about a year since my breakup, and me and my boyfriend, I call him my boyfriend because we're back together now, we live here now together, we started communicating again, and we didn't pick back up where we left off. We had to like start completely over as different people. So that was interesting and challenging, and very rewarding at the same time. But we were just kind of talking, just kind of communicating. We weren't really back together yet. And then my mom got really sick. So for those of you who don't know, me and my mom have kind of had this sordid relationship my whole life. Childhood years weren't exceptional as far as our relationship goes. And my mom had a lot of struggles with her, her own demons. And we just weren't close. When I was, a teenager, I had moved in with my dad, and me and my mom, there was kind of like this rift between us because of some stuff that happened when I was growing up. And I finally, me and her had reconnected, but we had just started to build a relationship, maybe for like the last year or so before she got sick. And she got sick, and so basically they went in and they did like a little small procedure to test her heart, and she failed the stress test. And I don't know why I said that was a procedure. It was just a stress test. They just put your heart under a bunch of stress to see if you'll have a heart attack, to see if the stents that they did in 2001 on her were like still working. And it made her have a heart attack. So then they did the procedure. I think that's where I got procedure from. But they went in and they were going to do like a stent procedure. They go in like through your arm, and they try to see if they could fix the blockages that way, which is like what she had done in 2001. So it was kind of scary, And I was upset, but I was not like hysterical yet because like my mom has been through this before and came out the other side. So I was like, she's gonna be fine. So then I get a call at work one day basically saying that she is not fine, and that the stent procedure failed and they couldn't find the blockages, and that, you know, the alternative was open heart surgery. And so I was like, you know, what? So then I started getting kind of upset because I was like, this is a huge procedure. There's a lot of risks involved. They literally have to stop the heart with like a bypass machine. So I was really upset, but you know, everyone was assuring me it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be fine. So then they start running all these tests and they're like, your mom's heart is 50% viable. And so we're like, what does viable mean? Like, I don't understand. And basically, it was somewhere between like 40 and 60% still viable. And if it was under 50, they had to like run more extensive tests or whatever to figure that out. But if it was under 50, then her heart was not considered viable, which is basically another word for like savable or could have a good quality of life after a procedure. And I was like, okay, so like, what if it's not viable? And they're like, we just basically send your mom home to be with you guys. And so I was like, so what you're telling me is like my mom might die. So I lost it. I lost it, man. I was working a really high stress job around the time. It was like a 50, 60 hour a week kind of job. And I lost my shit. Like my mom was like dying, you know, and it was really hard. And that's kind of what catapulted me and my boyfriend kind of getting back together was, you know, he was there for me through all that. We were friends at the time, just like casually going on dates and stuff, trying to reconnect. And, you know, when I told my mom was sick, like he was the first one at the hospital with me, and he really took care of me emotionally during that time. And that kind of rebuilt my sense of security. Like, you know, we are different people than we used to be back then. We have different ways of coping with our issues, and you were really here when it mattered, when other people were not. So we are very happy together. Me and my mom are very happy. She is made a full recovery. They did end up doing the surgery. It was like a last minute thing. Like they were like, we're probably not going to do the surgery. And I get this call at work, and I'm in the middle of crying. Like at this point at work, so many people had found out that my mom was sick that like people were coming up to me, you know, expressing condolences, which like I am so like, you know, happy and appreciative of, but it was a lot because I was trying to like go to work and just be like good and strong, and you know, it's fine, and you know, people were walking up to me like, I'm so sorry, you know, we're praying for your mom, and it was just like reliving it in my mind, and I was like, you know, thank you, I appreciate it so much, but then I'd go to the bathroom and just be like, it was horrible. It was a horrible period of time. So at this point I just told my boss, I was like, look, I need to go in the office and just like cry for 30 minutes, and he's like, you know, do what you gotta do. So I'm in the office just bawling my eyes out, and I get a call, and it's from my dad, and he's at the hospital. And, you know, he's like, are you sitting down? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking he's telling me, like, they're not doing it, they're sending her home, like, your mom's dying. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, yeah, Dad, I'm sitting down. Like, what? Just tell me, just give it to me straight. And he's like, they just approved her for the surgery. She goes into the surgery tomorrow morning. So, like, I'm crying even more now, but it's happy tears. And I'm like, oh my God, like, mom's going to live. So, she made a full recovery from the surgery. It was really scary and traumatic for my family though, seeing her like that. And she had like a breathing tube, and it was really bloody and sad and scary. And then she was good. She was fine. My mom's out and she's doing well. So that is a very positive, happy thing. So it seems like, you know, in a normal person's brain, my biggest two problems that contributed to me having this like mental breakdown was my breakup and my mom getting sick. So my breakup got fixed because we got back together, and my mom was healthy again. So I bet a lot of you are wondering like why I was still sad and why I was still having a mental breakdown. And that I cannot tell you honestly. I just lost it. I just never really recovered from those emotions or processed them correctly. Like, I think I should have taken more time off work and just really sat down with myself and been like, oh, you just went through some shit. Like, process, feel, and I was just kind of in like go mode, and I just went, and I just had like this emotional breakdown, and I was like, it's time to go get help. So I started going to a therapist. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, like why one day I'm okay and I'm fine and I'm going so fast and everything's going so great, and then the next day I'm like, I can't get out of bed. I feel suicidal. I feel awful. I feel terrible. I just want to sleep all day and never wake up. And I just never understood why I had this like up and down going on in my life. So basically, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2, which, you know, I'm like, what is bipolar 2? Yada yada. She basically tells me there's like 2 types of bipolar disorder. There's bipolar 1 and there's bipolar 2. And bipolar 2 has what's called hypomania, whereas bipolar 1 has mania. Mania is like full-blown distortion of reality, feeling invincible, things like that. Hypomania is more like euphoria, like feeling like, today is such a good day, the sun's on my face and everything feels so good. And I'm like, okay, cool, I relate with this second one, because I feel that some days, and then the next day, you know, I just have like this cripplingly long depression that like it starts that day and it won't end for the next month, and then I'll have another really good day the next month, and then it'll go for a huge long stretch of depression. And she's like, yeah, so a lot of people, there's a common misconception that like bipolar 1, you know, since they spend more time in mania and full-blown mania, which can lead to like a bipolar psychosis. She's like, a lot of people think that like those people have it worse or have the worst disorder. She's like, that is totally 100% not true. She's like, they are both equally challenging, because with bipolar 2, which is what you have, you're gonna have longer periods of depression. So yeah, you know, it might be great that you're not feeling invincible and wanting to like, you know, drive your car through 10 stoplights. You're going to feel so good, and then for like a day, and then you're going to come down to this depressingly low, and then you're going to stay in that low for a long time. And I didn't realize like a lot of the things that led to my psychological break was like the drinking. Like, so a lot of bipolar people are alcoholic, like a lot. So when I was going like binge drinking for that entire 6 months, that was extremely bad for me. And like, of course, at the time I didn't know I had bipolar, but basically there are studies, which, like I said, these are studies, these are theories, these are not confirmed as truth by doctors yet, but there are theories out there that bipolar disorder and alcoholism is the same disorder. But like I said, those are still studies. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but it's like an overwhelming percentage of people with bipolar have alcoholism. Like, I think it's like between 70 and 80%. So like a huge chunk, right? And they use it to manage their moods, and they don't realize they're using alcohol to manage their moods, but like the alcohol makes them feel confident and high and up here, and their anxiety levels are super gone, and like they're just happy and full life and have that euphoria. So the longer you drink, the longer you can continue on that manic cycle. So I was able to stay manic for like the longest period of my life that I've ever been manic. And then when I decided to stop drinking because I was becoming a person I didn't really know anymore, that was like disassociating. And then that's why I spent such a long time in a depression and couldn't process things that were happening to me, was because I had no tools to cope with it, because I was just running on fucking alcohol. So that was like a wake-up call. I can hardly drink anymore. I'm not really even supposed to drink at all. But, I mean, I occasionally drink. I'm not going to lie to you. I drink maybe like once every 2 or 3 weeks. And it's normally socially, just so I don't have to feel awkward and explain to people why I can't drink. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, it's just anxiety. Like, if I go to a big event or something, I'll stop and get like a shot or two on the way there, just because I'm like, I can't function at this place around all these people and pretend to be normal when like I have cripplingly bad anxiety. That's not healthy. I'm trying to find another way to deal with that. I'm thinking about getting on some anxiety medication. I really haven't been up to this point. I have taken anxiety medication in the past. It has helped. I just didn't want to be a person that like stays really dependent on drugs, and that's a stigma that I myself am fighting right now about mental disorders. Is like, you know, some people need medicine, and I might be one of those people who might need it, you know. So, but I was trying to take maybe like the natural route first. So I've been drinking like lots of, you know, serotonin boosters, like orange juice and smoothies, and trying to stay hydrated, drink a lot of water, go walking. They say exercise and vitamin C and omega-3s are like really great for people with bipolar to like stay okay during their depressions that won't make you manic. Alcohol makes me manic. Caffeine makes me manic. Pretty much any substance that's like mind altering will make me manic. So I have to stay away from a lot of those, or at least control my intake like extremely. But it's kind of what's been going on in my life. That's my little like life update for you guys. And I want to do a thing where I discuss like a topic every week. So here's my topic for this week, now that I've updated you on how life's been going. I follow a lot of these like positivity hashtags on Instagram that claim that they're all about, you know, promoting a positive mindset and getting out of mental illness and destigmatizing. It's all great, good energy, positive vibes, love, one love, you know. And I'm like, I'm all about that shit. I'm all about that mindset. So I'm like, you know, I follow a lot of these hashtags. Well, lately I've been seeing really negative ones, like, and they're supposed to be positive. So like for people who don't have mental disorders or mental illness, they're, you know, taking this shit in like it's gold. They're like, yeah, like this is good. Heard that. You're right. And then I feel like people with mental disorders or mental illness, mental struggles of any kind are taking this as like defeating. So I'm going to give you some examples of some things that can be hurtful to your friends with mental illness. One of them is like, you know, did you have a bad day, or did you have a bad 5 minutes that you milked all day long? So I'm like, okay, strike one. That one, I'll give it to you, might be like a little bit true for not just people with mental disorders, but people in general. They, you know, you tend to have a bad day and you're like, my life is over. Like that over dramatizedness. I get it. I get what that post is supposed to say. However, someone who has an uncontrolled mood disorder can't help but be in a bad mood all day if they're going through a depressive episode. You know, they can't control that. They can't just be like, oh, you're right, I'm going to stop milking it. You know, it's a lot more in depth than that. And I get that that has positive intent, but it doesn't always come across that way to people that are struggling. Another one that I saw, I think this one is my most hated. It said, if you're not happy, that's your fault. Do something about it. Like, that's not your fault. People that have, you know, mental illness, especially mental disorders, like mood disorders, you know, we chemically have different brains than you do. If you look at a brain scan of someone with a mood disorder versus you, we have the same levels a lot of times. I'm not using the correct verbiage here. I'm gonna, you know what, next video I'm gonna post like the 2 pictures so like you guys can see what I mean. But we have similar levels of like dopamine spikes and plummets as someone who's on methamphetamines. That's crazy to think. And you know, it's funny because one of my depressive episodes that at the time, like I said, did not know was a depressive episode. I was going through like a really depressive episode, and then I spiked to a really manic one around the time I was living with my dad when I was like 18 or 19. And my dad had this sit down talk with me. He was like convinced I was on meth and was like, you know, if you're going to be doing hardcore drugs, like I'm throwing you out of the house. Like your skin looks terrible. Because at the time I was like also really anorexic. So like my face just had all these like deep craters of acne. And I'm not a person that normally has acne, but I kind of had like meth face almost all over my face. And I just wasn't eating. I wasn't eating nutrients. And I was just drinking energy drinks and alcohol and Marlboro, you know, cowboy killer cigarettes. And I was moving through life. And I was, you know, recovering from a depressive episode. So I was manic. Like I had immediately hit that switch and I was like, go. And so my dad just assumed I was on drugs because I acted like that for like weeks and weeks and weeks. Just crazy, sporadic behavior, just really ticky. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm not trying to say that to be insensitive to people that, you know, have Tourette's, but I was acting ticky. Like I would like, you know, like jittery, ticky, like I would just, I had so much energy in me that I couldn't, I don't know. I couldn't process life. So yeah, that was a thing. And my dad was like, you know, convinced I was on drugs at the time. And I wasn't. Like, I have never done a hardcore drug in my life. Ever, y'all. Like, 100% honest here. I have smoked my fair share of weed in my life, but I do not do hardcore drugs. I have never done hardcore drugs. I never will. But my mind, like, was just rapid fire. Woo! And it's funny because, like I said, your brain, like, patterns are very similar to someone that's, you know, on a meth binge. So, anyways, my point in saying that, back to the original topic, I do apologize if I go out on these little, like, tree branches. I'm very easy distracted. I'm like, butterfly, woo. But, basically, yeah, like, you can't, it's not someone's fault that they can't control whether they're happy or sad. Like, it's not. Those are feelings. We need to quit punishing people, especially people with mental disorders, for feeling happy or sad or not okay or okay. Like, it's not your fault if you're not happy. I mean, I will say the truth to that statement is it's your fault if you don't try to do something about it. But you will not always succeed at the things you try to do to fight it. You can paint, you can go on a walk, you can call your mom, you can have a you day, you can lay in bed and watch movies all day, you can go eat your favorite food, you can go bicycling. And you know what? You might come home and you might be still fucking depressed, kid. Like, you might not just magically lift yourself out of it by doing a normal daily task that you might like. Yes, it is worth it to give yourself a chance to try one of those activities and see if maybe it brings a smile to your face for even a second. But you're fighting a challenge. You're fighting a mental issue, a physiological issue. You know, people don't see mental illness that way. People see it as very black and very white. Like, you're sad, so feel better. You're angry and irritable, so get over it. You're too much right now, calm down. Those are very easy things to tell someone who is perfectly mentally healthy. But for someone who has a disorder, they don't even realize, because this is normal for them. It really distorts your reality. You don't really see when you're, like, for me, like, sometimes I'm just a bitch. I don't mean to be that way. I'm just so irritable that people just come up to me and I'm like, what? What do you want? You know? And then I have to, like, take myself back and be like, wow, okay, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to address you like that. Like, I really did not mean to disrespect you. Like, I still hold myself accountable. I'm wrong. Daily, I'm wrong. And I check myself on that. But it is not my fault that I'm not happy 24/7. So, you know, strike 2 on my list of, like, negative shit that the spiritual community says to people with mental illness. Another common misconception, it was really hard for me to find an exact reference for this one, but a lot of, like, spiritual community type people also smoke weed, which, you know, like I said, I have no issue with. However, it is not a magic cure for everything. And I would just say that, and I might get some hate for it, but it's the truth. People think, you know, weed can just cure cancer, cure depression, cure anxiety, cure bipolar disorder, cure everything. You just smoke some weed, man, and chill the fuck out, and you'll be fine. While yes, I do believe that it should be legal for medicinal purposes, at least in all areas of the world, because it does help aid with pain and anxiety of people who do have cancer, who do have depression, who do have mood disorders. I do think it is a tool, you know, and if it gets approved for medicinal uses, that's like, to me, just like your antidepressants, right? They help. They are not a cure. A mental disorder is not curable. You live with it. Your brain is chemically different than other people's. You can take a medication to balance your chemicals that are unbalanced, but in your natural state, you're unbalanced. Think of a person, and I hate to compare it to this, but okay, 80% of my family has diabetes, right? In their natural state, they have diabetes. Their body does not regulate insulin well. So they either need to take insulin or they need to take their, you know, diabetes medication to help regulate their levels of insulin, because they are not naturally regulated. Does that mean they are broken and can't hold jobs and can't have happy relationships and can't go do everything that they dreamed of? No, that doesn't mean that. They are still capable of doing that, but it's a little bit harder for them. They need a little bit of accommodation to deal with life the way a person not living with diabetes does. That is the same thing as mental illness as far as logic goes. We can live life like you do. We can have friends like you do, have relationships like you do, have, you know, families like you do, work high demanding jobs like you do, but we need to be accommodated. And that might mean, you know, that you sit down and have some you time every now and then, or you need more sleep than the average person, or you need to drink more water, eat a healthier diet, and take better care of yourself than the average person. That it doesn't mean that your life's over or whatever, but it's an accommodation. So like, people that smoke weed to deal with their problems, when it comes to mental disorder, like when it comes to their low moods and stuff, and they just want a little boost of sunshine and happiness, and you want to smoke a joint, that is your own business. But don't put that on the rest of the world, because like, not everyone smokes weed like you do, or not everyone chooses to be on medication like you do. Or some people might use weed or another, you know, mind-altering substance to deal with their bipolar disorder or their depression, and it might not be a fix. I can tell you, when I was drinking a lot, there were times when I would go out and, you know, drink and feel happy and cool. It fixed me. And then there were times I'd go out and get smashed drunk and be sitting there like, why am I still sad? It wasn't always a miracle cure. It's not a miracle cure. In fact, alcohol for me, which yes, I understand is a very different thing than weed, alcohol for me, it made it worse. And for some people, weed makes it worse. You know, everyone's brain is different. And telling them to just smoke a blunt and get over it is really minimizing to their hardships. So that's another point. And then, let me see, I think there was one more. What did it say? Oh, this one is fucking bullshit. It was like, does mental illness run in your family, or does unresolved trauma run in your family? Maybe you should deal with your demons and face your trauma, and the mental illness wouldn't run in your family. I was like, wow, okay, so first of all, mental illness and unresolved trauma runs in my family, bitch. Both, so thank you. But anyway, yes, resolving your trauma, facing your demons, going to therapy for things you have been through does help. coming from a person who is not only diagnosed with bipolar 2, but also PTSD. So yes, it does help. It is a good tool. Like I said, a tool. That does not fix bipolar. And bipolar is hereditary. And some people get it without having any trauma. People think that you have to have trauma in order to have a mental illness. And I will say, trauma don't fucking help. And yes, a lot of people who have mental illness also have trauma, probably because older generations were so stigmatized about mental illness that a lot of their parents, you know, do have mental illness, but never got treated for it, you know? So, mental illness being hereditary in your family is a proven scientific fact. Unresolved trauma is also a fact of life. But you can resolve all your trauma and still have bipolar. I have faced my issues. I have faced stuff that's happened to me in my childhood. I've faced stuff that's happened in my adult life. I have faced my own failures, my parents' failures, my boyfriend's failures, my friends' failures. I have taken all of those into account, and I have processed what's happened to me. I have had awful, awful shit happen to me in my life, and I have faced it, and I have healed from a lot of that. That didn't make my bipolar disorder magically go away. So that is my last one that I'm going to go over. It's really shitty to say to someone who has a mental issue. And it's just like, that community, you know, hashtag positivity, hashtag self-help, hashtag motivation, hashtag destigmatize mental illness. Those are all places that people with mental illness go on the internet to find support and community and growth and love and acceptance. It's not a place that people want to go to feel stigmatized. So, for those of you who don't have mental illness who are listening to this, you might be doing that and you might not realize it. So, thanks for coming to my TED Talk on that one. I think that's going to wrap up this video. Now that it is 37 minutes long and no one is going to watch it. So I'm going to come to a close there. But I am going to be posting more about my journey in mental health going forward and about different topics. I'm going to try to post weekly. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Bye.